Dungeon Meshi is one of the most popular anime of this season, thanks to its insanely detailed world building, well-written characters and a unique story. However, it's still overshadowed by other fantasy anime. We had Frieren, which completely revolutionized the industry, becoming the highest rated anime of all time. There is also Solo Leveling, which is the most popular anime of this season by far. After witnessing so many good fantasy anime in recent seasons, I genuinely thought I wouldn't enjoy watching a new one again. However, Dungeon Meshi is just as good. But when there are so many anime airing, there's bound to be some that won't get the attention they deserve. This season, that's Dungeon Meshi. Unlike other fantasies, Dungeon Meshi begins in a rather unique manner. One day, a solitary man appears in a cemetery, claiming to be the king of a realm deep underground, held captive by a mad magician. He promises that whoever defeats this magician will inherit everything his kingdom possesses. This kingdom is where we find ourselves, with a group of adventurers fighting a battle against a red dragon. However, things don't go as expected, and they find themselves on the brink of death, only to be saved at the last moment. Thanks to this, two party members decide to quit, leaving the group with just 3 members: Laios the knight, Marcille the mage, and Chilchuck the locksmith. The 3 of them decide to return to the dungeon to rescue Laios' sister, who had previously teleported them out. However, they are broke, having left all their items in the dungeon, leaving them without money, food, or resources. Now they must rely on whatever monsters they encounter in the dungeon to keep themselves alive. Some of them are quite keen on this, while a certain one aren't at all.
I think we just found our lunch.
That's gross! Ew, no! I don't wanna!
As they enter the dungeon, they boing a walking mushroom which they decide to eat. However, they have no idea how to prepare it as food. Senshi, a dwarf warrior, comes to their aid and joins the party with the goal of fulfilling his dream of cooking the red dragon. From this point on, the 4 of them venture deep into the dungeon, battling various monsters, making delicious meals out of them, encountering other adventurers, and having many other adventures along the way. At first, the anime sounds really repetitive. Every episode they fight some monsters, eat them, and then go deeper. That's exactly what happens every episode, yet it doesn't feel repetitive at all. What I really love is that the anime has so many unique ways to present the same idea without us realizing that essentially we are watching the same thing. What the anime does so well is that it has such a well-detailed world. If there is one thing the author spends a huge time on, it has to be the world building. Unlike many other storytellers who might simply dismiss dungeons and monsters as products of magic and leave it at that, she takes a serious approach. She delves into what a world with magic might entail, and introduces inventive systems that actually make sense when you stop to think about them. I love how every little thing has a reason in this world, and I really appreciate that the writer took a unique approach to present it through dungeon food. It's a really cool way to emphasize a sense of realism. What would happen if you were in that situation? How would you live through it? The story itself has a really simple idea, but thanks to that, it can build a lot onto it, and I love that. And that's why the story isn't set within the dungeon and all its systems are a direct part of the story. I especially love these scenes where the enemy talks about the echo chamber existing in the dungeon. Senshi demonstrates how the dungeon maintains its level balance through his golems, showing that without them, monsters from lower levels would climb up. And this scene illustrating how to create a miniature dungeon really makes this dungeon system come alive. It feels like something you could legitimately study as a science rather than just a vague concept that you accept as a fictional setting. I also love how the writer expands upon common fantasy tropes like mimics. It's such a prevalent element in fantasy settings. Even our favorite elf has had quite a bit of trouble with them. However, I never seen anyone expand on the concept until now. Here, treasure bugs lay eggs inside mimic chest, consuming the mimic inside and laying eggs to become a full treasure bug chest. It's essentially a kind of hermit crab, where mimics had to change shells as they grow. The world is filled with tidbits like that, creating a comprehensive system. However, having brilliant world building isn't enough on its own. To truly make it a good story, what it really needs is good characters. The characters in this anime are so unique, not just the way in they are written, but also in how they fit into the story itself. What I really love is that from the start, we quickly realized that unlike in other fantasy anime, the characters aren't weak. They all have their strengths, weaknesses, and the anime doesn't evolve them by simply making them stronger as they progress deeper into the dungeon. That's a common approach in fantasy character development because it's simple to execute and easy for the audience to understand, not to mention it's the most popular way of writing fantasy characters. In Dungeon Meshi, the focus on their strength is non-existent. They never become stronger because they are already competent, but not overpowered by any means. Instead, The writer focuses on their personalities and imperfections. They can be stubborn, delusional, and sometimes filled with hate for the simplest things. I love that they are not written to be perfect. There's a perfect balance that makes them feel a lot more realistic and relatable. Their strength and competence are also evident in how quickly they return to the place where they almost died in just a few weeks, without even encountering many other adventurers that got as deep as them. The leader of this party is Laios, a human knight. He's a calm and gentle person who can become quite delusional whenever it comes to dungeon food. What I really love about his character is just how committed he is to exploring the dungeon and discovering its secrets. His dedication is shown through many scenes, highlighting his knowledge and understanding of the system. However, he is not infallible. He makes mistakes and misunderstands things, which adds depth to his character. I also admire his unwavering commitment to rescuing his sister, despite knowing the slim chance of her survival by the time they reach her. Laios is portrayed as a skilled fighter capable of defeating monsters encountered within the dungeon, yet, like his knowledge, his fighting skills have flaws. He can be impulsive and reckless, often charging into dangerous situations without fully considering the consequences. What I truly appreciate about his character is how well measured, calm, and confident he can be despite his eccentricities, making him a true leader when it truly matters. Him being delusional about wanting to eat everything is also just funny as fuck. The next party member is Marcille, the elf mage, who quickly stole the spotlight from all the others with her charming yet sometimes annoying personality. She can be somewhat aloof and detached at times, and she grapples with her own vulnerabilities and insecurities throughout the series. However, she's actually quite a smart character, at least book smart, which is where most of her flaws come from, as she often relies on whatever she has read without ever putting it into practice. Despite that, I just love how compassionate and empathetic she can be, caring deeply for the well-being of everyone else. The next and my favorite member of this party is Senshi. He's a dwarf warrior who was the last to join this party. He is quite similar to Laios in a way. They are both really knowledgeable about the dungeon, but their knowledge doesn't really overlap, which is such a cool thing. It just shows how many things this dungeon has for itself. In fantasy, dwarves are usually depicted as strong warriors, but I really like how here he isn't one because he's simply not good at it. He acknowledges that he isn't good at fighting, and I like that they added small details like all his cooking equipment being shields and knives that should be used for fighting. He's probably the most experienced member of the party, which is really well shown throughout the anime with the way he can deal with so many things alone. Now the final member of the party is Chilchuck, who I have to be honest don't really care about. He's not a bad character, but I just don't really care about Lil Bro that much. He's a really skilled locksmith who can be quite cowardly, often expressing fear and hesitation when faced with dangerous situations. He definitely adds a unique dynamic to the party, often serving as the voice of caution within the group. I do appreciate his character development though, as he overcomes his fears and accepts the support of his friends, but I still don't find myself liking him as much as the others. It's not his fault though, I guess I'm just a problem. Their entire dynamic is really unique within the anime itself. I really love how teamwork is emphasized in Dungeon Meshi. The main characters only get as far as they do because they are working together. They have their disagreements, their own strengths and weaknesses, but it's a lot of fun watching them work things out and slowly progress deeper and deeper. I'm just so thankful it's not a power fantasy. However, what really made me enjoy this anime is the uniqueness of its humor. The humor is one of the main reasons outside of the world building why the manga was so popular, and I think the anime did such a good job presenting it and making it even funnier. I like that it has this small aspect of parodying the genre itself and most of the tropes around it without really disrupting the story. Although most of the humor comes from the character interactions and their reactions to that, I don't really know why they went with this approach, but I really like that the jokes are edited like how I would make them in a video. Zooms, the music cuts out, the frame gets smaller and smaller. These are all simple edits that you can see in a lot of anime YouTubers videos, and I don't think I ever seen it being used like that in an actual anime before, and that is all thanks to Trigger. Trigger is quite a well-known studio thanks to anime like Kill la Kill, Darling in the Franxx, or more recently Cyberpunk Edge Runners. However, Dungeon Meshi is something entirely different from what they used to make, which kind of made me scared at the start. But they did an amazing job so far. The animation is fluid with things always moving, characters blink, they actually have noses, and there are so many unique backgrounds. The music is also fitting for a fantasy anime. It's not unique, and it doesn't really stand out at all, but what I love is that it sounds like what you would expect, which makes the overall anime so much better. The manga already excelled at a lot of things like character design or world building itself, but the anime was able to add so many things to it, which actually makes it worth watching for the people that are already read it. Overall, Dungeon Meshi is my favorite anime from this season, and we are only halfway through it. It's fun, it has an amazing world, good characters, please watch it. If you want to see a video about another amazing fantasy that will continue this month, click on this video, like, subscribe, goodbye.